Good evening everybody. Another video. This time I've returned to 1/72nd scale figures. These are Strelets. They represent about 10 years from one issue of figures to the most recent. I'll show you the ones from 10 years ago first. These are Strelets Boer Infantry. They were at least around about 10 years ago. Strelets, they weren't the best. I mean, some of the poses are a bit sort of peculiar, a little bit fanciful. The man sort of dancing on one foot at the back with a massive pistol and dagger, and some of the others are just a little bit quaint, but I don't think the Boers very often went into the field with a flag, though the women did occasionally load their rifles, and I believe maybe have even taken part in some of the firing. But the figures were, as I say, a little bit fanciful, and if I remember correctly, they had quite a bit of flash on them, and you know, they painted up quite nicely though, to be fair. And as I say, that represents approximately 10 years ago. The company has improved considerably now. They did bring a set of British infantry out at the same time as the Boers, and I painted them up, and they were very toy-like. I mean, the poses again were very much similar to Britain's. I mean, they were very stilted, very unnatural poses. Now the latest set that's come out is British Infantry Skirmishing, which I've painted up here. They also did a Highland gun crew with pom-poms. That's to say, not the dancing pom-poms, but the pom-pom guns that were pretty popular at the time on both sides, of which here is one here. So you get Highland crew with that, and the Boer pom-pom gun is exactly the same, though I've depicted it in a slightly greyer tone. The figures themselves, it's a little bit more difficult to pick up on this smaller scale, but the figures themselves are quite well cast. There's a lot less, well, there's virtually no flash apart from a little mould line to be cleaned off, and I quite enjoyed painting these. I did a variety of colours, from Japanese uniform to khaki to sort of deep dark mustard colours, trying to mix it up a bit to portray the uniforms as they developed from 1899 to 1902. They changed, and obviously they faded in the field. I know that there wasn't actually any standards carried at that time, but just for the sake of a bit of colour, I put in a Maverick Models flag, and you know, just to add a little bit of colour. As I say, they're not war gamed, these figures. They tend to be you know, they tend to be just collected. Got a couple of boxes here, which I'd like to show you. I believe Gary of Marksman Gaming actually has this set. I mean, I'm sure he has most sets, but Gary, I know you did a review on this set. I picked it up recently from my shop in London. Well, the shop that I go to in London. I do like sets like this. It covers a little bit of everything. There's girl cantineers, you know, bringing the wine to the soldiers. There's a medical set at the top left there, and various other aspects of camp life, including an actual tent. And it's one that I believe has gone out of production now, and I was lucky enough to pick up one of a few sets that was left over. and it's actually quite a pleasant one. I don't know if I'll ever get round to actually painting this, but as I say, I do like these little sets. The next setup is something a bit unusual, but I suppose appropriate for this time of year. I managed to pick up I don't know, what is that, Creole, the company. I've never heard of them. I think it's I think again it's a Russian company made in France, but originally I believe it's Russian, and that's your essentially your nativity scene, including a very tiny blob in the middle there, which is baby Jesus. The next set I picked up was from a company called Dark Alliance. This is called Mummies, but it's not your regular Egyptian mummies as such. This is actually the mummies as depicted in the film The Mummy. If you remember the scene where they were being chased by mummies that had come to life while they were Brendan Fraser and the heroine were driving off in a London double-decker bus, and these are the sort of mummies that were depicted in that film. So they're all a bit dishevelled, a bit skeletal, and with bandages hanging from them. Just got that set as a particular, bit of fun, to be honest. The next set, nudity alert, is Amazons, Daughters of Aries, and this again is a Linear A, who are, I believe, an offshoot of I think it's Strelets. Various strangely shaped women in the nude, and can be used to depict various mythological subjects. The other one is simply one of Hat's boxes, which is I picked up just because of the novelty of getting an entire army in one box. It comprises all the figures shown here. It's quite good if you just wanted to simply obtain a single army in a small scale, just for collecting purposes, like myself. It's all in there. I find Hat's figures to be a little bit on the slim side. Not so much fun to paint, but that's just my own opinion. And finally, a company, I think this is called Lucky Toys, and this again is a single army in a box, very much reduced in size, but including elephant, and it's a decent kind of thing to have if you want to just paint up a few different figures, and of different types, rather than go for one specific sort of type of component of an army. I see the elephant there is multiple parts, but it's got a waxy feel to it, but it's actually I think it's quite well moulded. The figures don't look to have any real flash on them, and once again you've got all the preparation that goes with these figures, but there's some very nice kits there. Anyway, that's just part one of 2 parts which I intend to make, showing the 1/72 scale figures that I've done. I also, a long time ago, after a visit to Culloden in Scotland, I built up 2 armies of government and Jacobite forces. The Jacobite forces I made from Waterloo Highland Infantry from Airfix, laboriously converted. I intend to get those out and show you. As I say, I visited Culloden, the scene of the climactic battle of the Jacobite rebellions, and decided to recreate the armies in miniature, which I finally did many years ago. I gloss varnished them, as was the habit in those days, and they haven't seen the light of day for about 10 years. But I hope to show you next time some more of the British and Boer artillery from the Strelets range, and I'll maybe pull out a few more older boxes, some Atlantic kits I've got in there somewhere, Greek army or Egyptian army, and they were very popular. I well remember the Coliseum Kit, which going back like maybe 20 years ago was quite expensive even then, but a huge model of the Colosseum in Rome with figures, and I never bought one of those, but boy, I wish I had have done. Very, very rare item these days, but and quite a huge item. I mean, the thing is the size of a car tyre when it's built. But yeah, just a brief update, as I say, just to show you some of the stuff I've done in 172nd. Also, I'd just like to say a big shout out for Ralph Astley. I love Ralph's videos. Very intelligent, well-spoken man, and very interesting, very varied subjects that he covers. There's rarely I ever watch one of Ralph's videos that is not fascinating. So thanks a lot, Ralph, and to everyone out there, including Lee and Gavin and Gary and Fraser. You know, thanks for all the encouragement, and thank you for all the work that you do on here, because you know, you really got me into this, and I really enjoy watching your stuff. So thanks a lot, boys. Speak to you later.